나올라서 다단다 디 면제 선대 제가 가려야 아니 지금 라마 담바 che남지 주균 칼라 천재 진실 제대로 참배 뒤지 지마라 사기 최지 차와 아부스 선대 제변한 신체제다 지난주에 말이야 아니 지난주에 로던 참배기 최지 싫어 지스 지난주에 로던 참배 로던 참배 최지 싫어 지스 송그래
And so we at the beginning there we were making one request, a sort of request in connection with the mandala in order to turn the wheel of the Dharma, and the prayer reads, "Perfect, pure, holy gurus from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need." So that was the prayer that we made, the second prayer after the first mandala, short mandala offering. And so you, with this kind of mind and this kind of state of mind and way of thinking, you made the request to receive these teachings.
So when you request this sort of this way of requesting sounds like you are giving kind of you have a menu in front of you saying now give this according to what I already want. So 제상가 수수용연이 지달 참배 뉴지지 말라 시지 수수용이 로던 참배 최세디 컨디지로 양원진 치고고 요레스.
So we need to sort of, when in the line where it says, "Please let fall a rain of profound and extensive dharma," so we have to think about what that sort of mean. What are we thinking about when we're requesting for a rain of profound and extensive dharma to fall? We need to think about what are we meaning there.
제장가 다디 제장가 수수 로다 참바세디 년리야 아니 로다 참비기 최세디 가장 년라 쉐변나신 아니 수술이야 아니 단답에다 지 urgent 아니 지기 고호디 마소네 아니 지기 지단의 상지기 최다 아니 지딩게 자와 망보지 제주도대 이나양 땅알 탄다 아니 지기 묘모 두송비 나노네 아니 지금 되차기 나네 아니 다도 좀 동생기 아니 상황을 로지 아니 얘기 다 지기 섬주 개와섬 아니 이나양 해 지기 개외래 제차비 주라 이나양 양고 지기 동해를 맞게비 두지 찬로야 민개외래 제네네 동해기에 두지 찬로야 또 지저 코와 나로도 또 코론로야 돼 다 자와 가리기 제외이나 하시지 로트버지 간접지기 지기나 세 디하 고야기 쳐도 안다처랑기 아니 지게 최셔로 지시 라베이나 안고 지들 참여되죠 정말 나와서 참당디 하고 살아봐.
So then, as the prayer says, "Please let fall a rain of profound and extensive dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need." So this phrase at the end here, exactly as they need, is very important. And we thinking about we sort of relating to ourselves and what kind of dharma is it that we need, and thinking about also in that context what is most urgently needed. And so the way to sort of think about that line of the verse is to in thinking about what's urgent and most needed is to, in terms of the thinking about the need to eliminate the three poisons, and particularly attachment, and within that context, the grasping to inherently existent self, and we also understanding that if we are not able to eliminate that, then whether we're engaged in virtuous actions, they still end up bringing us some kind of result of suffering within samsara. And of course, if we talk, of course, the non-virtuous actions will also lead as a result to suffering within samsara. So it's important for us to identify that this self-grasping to be, grasping at an inherent existent self, to be a mistaken kind of mind, to come to a clear understanding of that. And then when we make the request, please let fall a rain of the Dharma, and exactly as we need, then this is the way in which we think about the kind of Dharma we need.
So today we bring lots of example of rain. Because too much rain. So sunshine. 다디 누잠베 제장가 안행하란 저기 다지기 그런 루규단 산 다지기 남타르레 근데도 망보 중앙이나 뭐니 다지기 말한 저기 계진게 타발라마망 보지기 지기 냠시 낭당데 또 안에 저기 당신 용으로 당해 지다 안에 당면도 왜 싫어본 것도 교투야 지다 안에 델라 때니 안에 지기 가르쳐 그래 심지행이 되는 제야지 남다나로 인부로부터다디 창면하고 요리스.
So if we look into the sort of histories or the biographies of the of all of the great masters, what we see is a kind of the real essence of the kind of essence or the core of what we see in these great masters' biographies is of their way in which they the way of practice and the things that they engage themselves in, and primarily this core is the way methods to reduce the self-grasping, the grasping an inherent existent self, and the ways to be able to manifest the wisdom that realizes selflessness, and therefore on the basis of that to be able to work effectively for the welfare of other beings. So this is what we find in the great biographies.
So in the biography, so many information will be there, but the most important thing that we need to search in the biography is how the Lama has tackled his own self-grasping. That is one thing that we need to always bring the awareness when you want to do research about the Lama. Last year in October, when some of us, Samin was there, that we received a teaching from my teacher, and then my teacher went through the special insight, the Lama Chimo, Vipassana part of the Lamrim Chimo by Lama Tsongkhapa. And then he said normally we need to speak about the little bit biography of Lama Tsongkhapa so that we know who is the author, and then we go through the main text. But this, he said, now this time I will go through the whole the text, and then later I will tell you the biography of the Lama Tsongkhapa. So you go through the main points of the Lama Tsongkhapa's the subject of Vipassana in the part of stages, Lamrim Chimo, and then at the end of on the 10th day, which end of the session, and then he said, now I don't have any biographies to tell you, and this is his biography. So I come to realize from the beginning he is going to do this kind of thing because his main main way to explore into the biography is this one. So now as similarly, let's say like a kind Buddha, all these miracles he has shown, but what is direct impact on us? Not that much, to be honest. Even Buddha comes here and then do lots of the miracle and powers he perform. We will just go, wow, amazing. Maybe we bring more grasping towards it. But then it is better to, according to your own the mind which you believe this can be so wild, so not wild, untamed, this mind is something miracle. What I really need is to have this control on this grasping. So then it is like Shantideva said in this 6th chapter, or 6th Maria, where is it now? I can't remember. Maybe in the 7th chapter, saying if the place is full of
Thorns.
The thorns, and then then difficult to walk, and then you have a hammer putting it everything like this. How long are you going to do this? So better to buy a new one very good shoes and walk over it. So now to walk over it, only the good shoes, who sells the good shoes is the Chandrakirti. So that kind of shoes which you tamed your own self-grasping. And then from the lowest school to the highest, they all talk about how to reduce self-grasping. But then Chandrakirti looked into all the schools, and then he came to the conclusion saying, in earlier schools, whatever they are talking about, selflessness and then emptiness or voidness, what lives there, something is always there is dinzing gimiwa hagdus.
So there's still a referential point left over with this because of Denzin saying, but
Yeah, right.
from this grasping to the true existence, there's still something, a focal object still left over, focal reference point.
That chazanga di indu ranzo tatanda jidar tsambe duje zimala sedu jiga jidane mazu che chue nye mangoji yobrede inayang kodu nga tanda goya kar고도 sedu 아니 당심 해봐 수야기 다디 메나 탑면도 세주 가지고 고도 왔어.
So as it again, as it says in the prayer about being let fall a rain upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need, then from the many different sort of Dharma teachings that we've listened to, what we what we really need, what is directly thinking about what we really need is this the Dharma teaching that will help us to eliminate the self-grasping. That's what's the most direct need.
Now meditate with me. Don't feel like I forced you to find the Dharma. it should be from your side because you came for this retreat. I didn't push you. So now meditate with me. At the same time, when you're meditating, I'm also meditating. So this is the one of the best motivation to start to explore into the to search for the ultimate happiness or eliminating the self-grasping. So first you have to feel it. So try to bring that whether I need it or not, and what else if I don't find this antidote. So meditate on that a bit. Okay, so I set a time. Otherwise, I might meditate for 6 hours. Okay, so let's do 3 minutes. 제상하다. 란조 아니 지게 장부시에비나 난 밀류 좀 붙이 된조 밀류 좀 붙이 안 톱네 미현당다 주민자 아니 심진 현당 민자오지 당아서 가르치기도 슬라베나 당아란조 지기 내가 기부 대 말한 저기 제마토가 개요 말에 심진 둔주춘지게 지구요를 아니 먼저를 양 지금 변조야 쪽이 쉽이 지구요를 때 이내 타마데 지금 말한죠 가수 지기 다지기 변조 명 간지 정보이나 타마데 마티오메도 세고에 자와데 다지기 지금 집자에 내가 숙체를 레스요를 때 이내 되게 잡들이야 다 지금 좀 맞소네 기부진 내모 중에 당생지 임바디다 말한주 왜 선물을 지당 지 잠당에는 아주 좋다 치레스.
And so if we're really honest and we look at our situation and understand that we have this precious human rebirth, particularly the precious human rebirth with replete with the sort of leisures and endowments, these qualities, and if we should really think how this is such a different opportunity from many other of the sentient beings. So then we should think, well, what should we do with this precious opportunity? And if we just use it to attain some kind of temporary happiness, then even the sentient beings such as the animals are able to do that to some extent. And even if we use it to increase our wealth, then even then at the end of that, whether it's or our name or our wealth, but at the end of all that, we will still be left with a feeling of unhappiness. And the root of that feeling of unhappiness after that is that the root of that is a kind of great desire, too much desire, and what lies behind that sort of great desire, and what the main cause which prevents us from being able to remain in a happy state is the grasping of the inherently existent self. And when when we're in a sort of more relaxed state of mind, we can I think we can come to a sort of understanding that that is the way things are.
다 이제 인도 전에 다 단답하던 알란주 녀모 땅 안에 땅쟁기 지기 전요 전요 하루아 전요 조제 먼저 얌 천셔지 전요 제거된 알란주기다 하모건 데비선으로 지레스.
So up until now, we've been like a slave to the mental afflictions and the self-grasping. And what's most amazing is that we don't realize that we're actually a slave to these things.
네, 들어봤단다. 그래서 아주 다디 말람직도. 그냥 다 안제장과 당 알아는주 단대되줄 다 지기 지기 다 남아 자원을 붙이다 보지 제 아니 공개 제조 장벽에 로마도 저 탐지기 아니 말한줄이야 아니 지기 당신신이 매서고로 다 지지 랍제 중요한데 아니 단도 받은 아주 매진한 다티 랍제들이 점년지 디 고대 체니 마치 저베이나 솔직히 아주 남녀라고 말이 다 아주 지기 구유지나로래야 지기 또 스테이드 전에 하고 장어만 당선이 다 쓰니지 하고 남녀들 쉬 자체로도 와
그래서
장어만 당선이 슬랍스니 또 자체로 봤어.
And so up until this time, we've encountered many great masters, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also his followers and students of his, who have all advised for the need to eliminate this self-grasping. So they've all of them have given this advice, and if we were to just open the door and go outside, sort of out into the world, it would be impossible to find other people who would give us this advice. In the environment we have found ourselves, then it's this advice that the real enemy is the self-grasping is really something incredible to find.
So also now try to meditate, being here, just you could understand the whole text of the Chandakirti or not, or understand whatever I am saying. But the most important thing is you found this environment where that you can hear that this self-grasping is one mistaken mind, that we need to somehow put all our effort to eliminate that, or at least to tackle with it. So this is the place. This is the place. So you should feel so fortunate. Okay, so now with this kind of appreciation, this we can say special karmic connection that we have together here to discuss of this great Chandrakirti's text. So we also meditate to appreciate how wonderful it is for 3 minutes. 알았어. 다 되네. 다 알아줘. jigi dangzingi da xiangwang, nyumongbi xiangwang sayagi gejadi xewandu zambi rangshingi ani jigi sem na lo le ya tangi rangwang ma sonne chazang jigi semgi digi ma sonne da jigi chogen di zawa di ani dangzing dang da nyumong dochagi cheyonggu yubadi sebudoji chawandu ani da khadu danda docha dang nyumong le ya khade chayagi nyambu maranzur yo mare 이 매나양 다 되차기 전혀 임바디 하고 차비 쇼라 안 되차디니 지가서라 되차당 아니 뇽 여가서 그래 당진 디네 아니 직탄나 지마로 냐베 로직다 제초로 봤어.
And so in understanding this, how we're under the sway of these, under the power and under the sway of the self-grasping of the and the mental afflictions, and also and then we'll sort of, if we can understand that, then naturally in our minds we'll come to the understanding that we're not in control, we're not in control of the situation, and understanding clearly how these the self-grasping, the mental afflictions, and particularly attachment are what we are under the control of. Then but then we don't have a direct antidote to being able to eliminate the mental afflictions such as attachment, but we understand how we are, how they carry us away, and that how those are we're carried away by such afflictions as attachment, and then how the self-grasping is the sort of the one that leads, that brings on that attachment. And then at least if we could have the sort of feeling, wouldn't it be wonderful if I were able to be free from the self-grasping and the afflictions? That at least would be that at least is very important.
어디디 인도점에 다제상가 단요 몰라 단다 갑데 때 배도 초금인도데 이나양 아니 니 가르쳐오다 미진한게 미유도만 손에 체슈라디 앵에게 지단에 딱지기 자망고지 제여래데 이나니 미진한게 닝부디 니 당진디 매버스도나 랍 매버스마토나양 니 들려야 지기 카드 지기 다 여러 참 가시스 그런 뭐 시간을 카드지 짜마토나든 정마송 써야지.
So then in terms of the in terms of sort of challenging or taking on these mental afflictions and the self-grasping, and if we look at if we think about what we're to do with our lives, and maybe it's not possible to really fully challenge and take on the mental afflictions and self-grasping, but our main aim should always be in all of the activities we do, the sort of essence of that should be that we should at least try to think that it would be I will try my best to take on the mental afflictions and self-grasping. So of course the best situation would be to be able to actually eliminate them. But if that's not possible, then at least that we should have that desire or wish that to kind of challenge them and to take them on. That at least is should be a main aim of our lives in all of the activities that we do.
The client, the great Shantideva, said, we take the outside enemy very seriously, so that once you are so angry, so much hatred, then you want to destroy them. And then even you can't, then just do something that it will bring a peace in you. Kind of a little bit of punishment, whatever you want. Fight with that enemy your lifetime, and then you win for a few seconds. So much peace. But this is so ordinary, because the real unhappiness, who is giving the unhappiness? Not that the outside person. That is your own mind, which brings a very special image of the enemy and holds it forever. So much hatred it becomes. And then you have this already mind wanted to destroy. At least I can tackle a little bit, or just maybe poke. Poke, Poke. But still, our mind is so deluded that even we don't feel to do this towards the disturbing mind, which is this so much grasping. It's how stupid we are. And then Shandadeva says, that's why the Buddhas call us the child. Child behavior. Childish behavior. Oh, niçin görgülsem diyordu. I thought he's going to translate. I thought I was speaking in Tibetan. Okay. 다디 인도 전배 당하런주 기주슈디 언제선가다 최지체 세야다 칸된지체 세야다 냠nen지체 세야디 고축사디 자장가 네버도 아니 지기 니 당오마 아니 디 당진데다 아니 도샤다 샤당 데좀메버 수액 쳇도 땅에게니 최지기요 칸된지기요 초사립장 지기요 세징한 주기다 시가 공신 잡으시죠.
And so we should really, the most important thing here is that we should develop this sort of habit and cultivate this sort of familiarity or habit whereby whatever sort of, when we're talking about practicing the Dharma, whether that involves what kind of practices, whether it's recitations or all the other forms of practice which we include within practicing the Dharma, then it's what's necessary is that the starting point should really be the identification of this self-grasping as our real enemy, and also the attachment, hatred, understanding those to be their real, understanding those to be our real enemy, and wishing to find ways to challenge them and to eliminate them, and that should be so whether we're doing purification practices or accumulating merit, this is the context in which we should sort of develop our habits in relation to practicing the Dharma.
다 딘제지기 두시지 요베 토네 아니 최지 제가 줘봐이나 아니 변화 지기 왕도 쉬이나 아니 지기 디나 왕게 디나로야 니 등진디 매버 수액체도 묘모 매버 수액체도 오왕당로라디 지기 거할 송구도 세 제토야지 변화 지기 실험용부로 겨루기 요베이나 디나로네 알아야 당진매비 수액이 당마데 가와나로 도세 신이 지기 샘나로야 craving sort of your levi나 아니 지기 당하스니데 인지민지 라마지군들 로체니 알아 인지민지 당하나로 치 수슈 먹어봐 sungro tamjigi도 당망로 고용해지 용서봐.
And so, in terms of in terms of this, when we're searching for searching for ways to sort of do our Dharma practice, and then it's whatever sort of Dharma practices that we're thinking of doing. For instance, if we were to sort of have the wish to take in sort of empowerment, and so if we were in that context, we should look within the look for what are the sort of instructions or practice within the taking of or requesting or taking of the empowerment that helps us to which will help us to eliminate our self-grasping and the afflictions, so that if, for instance, if you are reciting the Heart Sutra, within the Heart Sutra we should look for the sort of the kind of core instructions on what it is that helps us to eliminate our self-grasping, and we should have a kind of when for instance with things like initiation, it's not necessary to go searching around to different lamas and sort of insisting on them that they offer us initiation. It's more this process of having a sort of craving within ourselves to really find out within whatever practice it is that we are in, Dharma practice we are engaged in, that we are searching out those core instructions on how to help us to eliminate our self-grasping.
어디에 지기다 ngaranzugi 최대 철토바이나 아니 신에 다단다 반된다와 저비기 다디나로야 된 잡지니슈 저주버기 나로라
And so when we're having sort of searched in the process of searching out for this kind of Dharma reasoning, then we this kind of sort of instruction, and then we come to here to Chandrakirti's 26th chapter on his commentary on the fundamental wisdom of Nagarjuna.
제정가다 마리바 신년디 아니 아란주기다 고고 당체 연하면은 아니 지기 아란주기 껴와 제정가 동년도 시제가 좀 가두이네 라고요래데 동년기 땡치년기 풍부딘데지 터바데 아니 대형 동년에 샤세 딩 아주 깨지 시에만 용을 좀 그래.
And so when we're sort of searching sort of looking in this way where we start to examine whether the ignorance is really the one that's kind of tricked us or confused us, or whether that is the case or not. And then when we sort of looking into, it's easy for us to say that in some sense that this is suffering, or there is some form of suffering, but we often don't look underneath that to the base or support, the aggregates which actually form the base or the sort of support for that suffering. So that's we need to look also deeper and identify the aggregates as being suffering as well.
제상가 마란주 단다 지기 공식 선로 자고야 지라 아니 지기 동행기 짜와데 아니 머리버레스 지지 그도 말랍체 동행기 짜와데 디 브레이크다운 시르바 브레이크다운 지체 토베이나 동행기 짜와데 가리기 지기도 슬라나 아니 깨와디기 체도 샤스 깨와람바디를 샤스 이년데 공시디하고 잡체 있는 거로 지는 깨와람바디는 눈도 차오르베 세지
깨와람바디 눈도 차
깨와람바디 눈도 차오르 눈도르베스
yeah. So then in terms of how we sort of come to sort of familiarize ourselves with understanding this, then often we sort of talk about how the root of suffering is kind of a lack of awareness or not ignorance, But actually, there's a deeper, before we go directly to that sort of understanding, we should really understand that taking birth itself is the root of our suffering. So then we come to say to ourselves that taking rebirth is a mistake.
디지 저토베이나 아니 신에 아주 녀려야 지기 묘몽 타라당 생비 남샤당 누수 정말 남상 시에 카보요르데 이나양 딘지기 동이 민대비 동행기 땡치닝기 풍부 딘지지 렌서베 슈골라 아 동행용 고구요레 세기 지기요르바 패키지 사모코비나 아니 신에 다 아니 디메버 컨디션으로 세도 좀 아니 신에 레다 뇨모니기 지기요레 레다 뇨모니 컨디션 지기요레세도 아니 마리비 지기요레 슬레도 좀 신에 야다 직최 마소네 젤당치 레서바.
So this is an important sort of way in which we sort of how we're actually searching out what is the sort of real meaning of the Dharma here. So, for instance, it's important. So, if we're able to get this understanding that the birth is a mistake, and that it's hard at the beginning to understand the whole sort of range of the subtle presentations of the different range of afflictions and the different types of mind. These are quite difficult to understand at the beginning. But if we can understand that the suffering that we do not want is comes from having the aggregates, and once we have these aggregates, then we're going to have to experience suffering. That having the aggregates and experiencing suffering come as part of a package, and if we know that, then we will start to look at how to think about how to be what is the cause of that and how to be free of that, and then our attention is drawn to the aggregates being caused by karma and mental afflictions, and then underlying that the ignorance. So this is the way that we seek out what this kind of Dharma.
So the package. Imagine the package of Amazon. First, not a problem. So beautiful. Then you open it. So many unnecessary things there. And then you park up. Maybe just what you order is just a very small thing. And then you realize all this is a garbage. And then at the beginning, you cannot say it's a garbage, but it is, yes, garbage. It's not like when you get this one and that one becomes garbage, not like that. They don't have an intention to send a garbage. They wanted to make you happy. And we wanted to be happy too, it was nice. But then with this tiny thing, all this garbage comes with it. And then even the thing you just got it, slowly it turns into kind of like a garbage. So I think like this, our aggregates contaminated means something that it 제자가 동해 하마니기 규르 동해다 동해기 동해니기 땡 지경기 차네 아니 아주 단다들이야 잡아두지기 동해에서 기지치기요 봐.
And so then in relation to the aggregates, we talk about them as being the kind of base or support out of which the two further sort of forms of suffering, the suffering of change, but particularly how we explain the pervasive condition suffering or pervasive condition suffering, that is explained through the aggregates lying at the kind of foundation or the base of that.
So now we take a little bit early break because I need to go to wash. Okay. 사시 부지 조절의 인된 gemba 상제 신도 미게 표보 도그 남다 신단 제바쇼 이담고 먼저다군이 안다야 미 15 minutes break. Okay. So now talking about the five aggregates. Yeah. So today my aggregates are not doing so great. A great reminder. So today what I'm thinking is just go through a little bit and then today half day I take a vacation so that the rest days I will feel healthier. So Alex will lead a discussion and because now you have so many things in your mind already, so you all can have a discuss. Some people also want to meditate, you can meditate. Yeah, so that will be the plan, and I will do some kind of tonglen in my room. Okay, so we go through the text a little bit. 다 계산한지 머리 집에 영시 치르스 뉴제 넘버 숨보다 네 디임부터다 메디르데 머리 집에 영시 뉴제 넘버 숨보다 온버 뉴제 강인비 레데 다근 로세데 다 뉴제기 레기 고데 송도와
And so yesterday we were we were looking at the first verse of the root text of Nagarjuna's root text, where it says, because of ignorance that obstructs, one is reborn. What forms has three aspects, and formative actions keep migration going. So this is referring to this sort of karmic formatives, or what was it, Alex? You used the
affecting factors.
Dushigile.
They affect.
Affecting karmic factors. Yeah, affecting karmic factors, or formative factors. Is so. This is what we've been discussing. That's where we were discussing yesterday.
다 제장하란주다 머리 비꾼을 랑니 아니 다 레 소단데라 아니 지게 또 방구시다 용으로 봐 배나 아니 지게 내 가르쳐 그래 배나 등진기 꾼을 랑치 양 레사다 아니 미상와라 양 장르진지 양 레소다 아니 가르쳐 그래 다 지가서 그래 라소베다 된지기 아란주기 레소당 리모고 쇼징 아란주르다 또 삼도당에 예여버지 봐.
And so in terms of when ignorance is sort of kind of motivated or driven by the force of ignorance, then we accumulate karma. And so there are actually a huge variety of ways or sort of modes through which we accumulate karma, such as the accumulating karma driven by self-grasping, or taking sort of unclean to be clean, or impure to be pure, and then accumulating karma in relation driven by that misunderstanding. So there are a huge variety of ways which we have accumulated karma, which are sort of still existent.
등진이 지소야. 등진.
Yeah.
Dangzin marda, dangzin.
Oh, dazzling. Sorry. The grasping to something to be permanent. Sorry, not the self-grasping, but the grasping to something. So the many forms of ignorance, which then create, through which we accumulate karma.
다 디포로 되는 건 아주 베렉디 샤베 포로라 코란 레 몽고 시베지 사차다.
So even in the time that we took this short break, we've already sort of engaged in or accumulated many forms of karma just in the break time.
다 디인도 잠베 ngaran 저기 다 레디 지기스 되게 레디 사베 갑려야 아니 고 지금 모든 것은 오늘 주중인데 다 되차다 시당 아제를 소바 대다기야 이게 geb셔주고 봐.
So what's sort of causing those to sort of manifest or to arise, this accumulation of these different forms of karma to arise is the mental afflictions such as pride, hatred, attachment. These are all sort of acting as a cause to for those karmas to sort of for us to accumulate.
지당 아주 다 딘제긴도 차단 시당다 딘제기 geb에 갑려야 아니 뒤죽고론데라 뒤죽고론도 교회 말이 바텔라 엉고 등진이 왕 치기도 아니 미장월라 장배 치기도 미다발라 따버진비 치기도 그저 때 지기야 디 정시의 토네 삼마당에 왜 개침을 했어.
So we need to sort of have this sort of a mindfulness of the way that of the sort of at the time that these we engage in these karmas and sort of accumulate them. At the time we accumulate them, we should try to have a sort of mindfulness of the forms of ignorance which are driving them, such as grasping at a permanent self, or grasping at something unclean to be clean, or grasping something which is impermanent to be permanent. And so we should develop a sort of mindfulness about how these are sort of motivating the ways we act.
디인도 좀 다 되네 디고솔이야 다 제정아 지기 묘모 레기 용약이 자와들라 묘모의 용당 묘모의 대양 아니 친지로의 용당 친지로 수수수마다 마다도 용도 준비 친지로 가르기 최송원에 멜로디 야 오지게 쇼데라 엔신이 단다 시대베 나로라 아니 단다 남시 저름 지금 뭐 송거를 봐대 소나멤버 탕볼도 세주와
소나멤버 탕볼지. So then if we following this sort of the way that for these sort of actions, we accumulate these actions and driven by the mental afflictions and understanding that those are sort of underpinned by sort of completely mistaken forms of completely mistaken mental states, and that and understanding the way in which the different kinds of mistaken mental states help create the afflictions which then create the causes to do these accumulate these karmic accumulate karma. Then when we think about that, then there's and thinking in that context, there's a verse from Aryadeva's 400 verses, which His Holiness very regularly recites, which goes first of all, you get rid of a non-virtue.
소나멤버 탕볼도 바르도 안에 또 그렇지 바르도 다.
So in the middle, you negate or you eliminate the sort of view of the self.
타마르 다시 꾼도 봐. 타마르 다시 꾼도 봐.
다시 하다못해 이렇게.
다 간지 그 되게 가르친 것도서나 아니 라바숨디 되지. 라바숨디 아니 좀 된디기 주 지금 강나다 냠nen체다 망고 주여베 나로네 저 너무 중요한 데점에 하나 타바토비알라 타바토발라 칸디슬라보레스 지지 슈베가블라 아니 저장가 년이야 ranzulya sonamayinbegi leedzu dogris dakanji gewa nyamba lenyagi leedzu dogris zogris dene chobajig lewondo zambe ani ta dagadzigi tandongyang ranzulya ani 가서 타바 톱투르선 톱투고 말했어 다 타바 톱투고 말해 아니 가르쳐 버렸어도 아니 라바 띵이징기 라바다 라바 셔르고 라바를 땡고를 시지 다디 랍자디 레온데 아니 기부충 등기 랍자디 레온가.
So in relation to this verse, it brings in the practices of the three higher trainings, and in relation to those three higher trainings, is sort of for someone who wishes to attain liberation. Then it first of all talks about how the first part of the process is to turn back or remove all of the sort of non-virtuous. Turn back non-virtue, or to eliminate non-virtue. That's the first sort of part of the process. But then what this does is help us to avoid taking a rebirth in bad rebirths. But then if we ask, is that enough, or will that be enough for liberation, for us to attain liberation? Then we understand that. That's not enough in order to attain liberation, but then further to that we need to engage in the so this is the ethical discipline, and then further to that we need the two other higher trainings of concentration and wisdom. So at this level of just turning back, removing our counteracting our non-virtue, that's at the level of a practitioner of the small scope.
제상가다 레기 원고도 우스마 지기 쇠대버치네 차단도도 시즌 되자고 쇠대ben 차단도도 깨운도 점배 아니 차단데 아니 마가는 지금인도 신념be 로디 깨운도 점배 다디 좀 된데 마페 공연라 다 들은 거 사요 여러 이네 좀 된데 마페 공연라 아니 지게 되차를捐단위 총부리 세단을捐단위 총부리 이는 뇌차를捐다 세단을捐다니 까당으로부터 가르가고서나 아니 그 가르기 되자 끼버 지고도서나 대형알이야 아니 진지 차지 아니 차고지기도 슬라도 좀be 대형알 롱제버디 아니 뇌차기 줄으샤스 세단께서 줄으샤스 근데 인도 좀be 이게 대형알이야 롱지기면서 지지 아니 다단다 아주 예술기 남나 된지 깔레잡지 어디 신에다 그것도 되는데 다 봐.
And so in terms of this sort of in order to understand this process further, then we under the sway of these karmas, then they influence the attachment and hatred and anger, all of these other mental afflictions to arise. So then we will think, okay, then if I'm not, so I need to find a way. With all of those afflictions arising, such as attachment, then and then we will think, well, they have to get rid of this attachment, have to cut away this attachment. But before the time of the Buddha, there were those who trained in these ways of who did practices which are to remove, to challenge the attachment, to challenge the hatred, and what they. And these, before the time of the Buddha, and looking into what was the cause of the, particularly of attachment, but also of kind of aversion and hatred, and what these practitioners saw was that it was the objects of the sort of objects of our desire, which were what caused the attachment, and also eventually the kind of aversion and hatred to arise. And so these practitioners would sort of avoid, or not engage with, not enjoy in any way these the objects of desire, and that's the way in, and so then these kind of practitioners then engaged in all kinds of to see those as the engaging or enjoying the objects of desire, seeing those as the cause of hatred and attachment. And these kind of practitioners would then engage in all kinds of kind of extreme ascetic practices in order to prevent themselves from kind of engaging with these objects of desire. So this was before the time of the Buddha. This was.
제정가 단다 löben ayadibiki 아니 십계배 나로라 아니 제정가 차당의 님부된 땜비 차당의 님부된 갑라 아니 되현이야 아니 당도 말된 것도 까대버 점식이 아니 차고집이기 차고마집이기 유인በ이나 아니 리바당체.
So then Aryadeva in his 400 verses sort of saying that when you're relying on trying to rely on an antidote towards these attachment, hatred, aversion, then if avoiding these not engaging with or avoiding these objects of desire was the cause for hatred and attachment to not arise, then Ayodhava had a reason against that.
제상가 치랑기 아니 되현을 롱마치베티 되샤마치비기 아니 탑이 슬라베나 아니 되현을 롱 지주 말하네 되현을 롱 지주 말하네 아니 콘도제베 주요레스.
So then he's
차상년샤로다.
sorry.
주장고 되차 그 롱지주 말하네 콘도제베디 가르치는 콘도제베스도 롱지주 말하는 콘도제베스. 디인도 계랑근 되차가네 셰당 루비우스는 좀 두고있어.
So then how the way in which Aryadeva argued with this kind of presentation was to say, if you accept that sort of avoiding, not engaging with, not enjoying these objects of desire is the method through which you're able to stop both attachment and hatred arising, then so then in terms of first of all, in terms of sort of the cause which is able to prevent the attachment from arising, but then if you're able to, so then you have a situation where you're not able to, there's no opportunity to engage with these objects of desire, and yet
샤바지라 더 베니요 베직 말에
알레 건데
베직 말에 되차디 게라 되차디 비주조 가르 샤스라나 되행기 왕치기도 쓰네 되행 까바 되게 되차지에메 수요레스 람나스 아니 가지 현지라 되행 롱지주 말하네 콘도사에 주요레스
네.
아니 콘도사에 매버 콘도사에 유디 가르스나 되행 롱지주 말아버리레스 디소아 다디는 단다디 체랑게 당부디 되차 게 매치 매버 쇠 데버데 이나야 셰단게 위줄로 두고 말베스.
So then argues that that's one sort of reason. So this sort of saying to him, saying to these this presentation, you're not giving this. If you say that that's the method through which the attachment will not arise, then. But still, we see that when even at a time when you're not able to enjoy or engage with these objects of desire, then attachment is still hatred is still, or hatred or aversion. Those forms of affliction still arise from not obtaining what you need. So in this case, is your sort of the method through which you prevent the attachment from arising, is that also connected with the method through which you prevent hatred from arising?
Did you see some connection?
Should I?
Yeah.
No, it's saying is that if you block access to the object, the desirable objects, the objects you find desirable, then you're going to get angry at not being able to enjoy them. So the opponent to desire doesn't function as also an opponent to anger.
디 차봐. 제장가 때디유 디기 그때 태와디기 고주가를 하고도 슬라베이나 다 간진 되차기비기 교텔라 아니 되차기 계속이 짜와디 야고 중문신 제토발라 아니 남가 상기비 투모메비 가른 문진 제열을 된게 깔에 야고면도 칼라망부 칼라 마사 아니 베사자 동바지를 줘 아니 베 되차기 계속이 준 심해버스를 로고 메도스 개체쇼디 가르도 슬람나 되차기 계속이 유디 조 친주로 붙이기도스 친주로 붙이기도스 대인도 전에 네버도 친주로디 문진치니 아니 딘디기 친주로기 아니 진별로 대당 어서 진단계에 로지 조 검체 대비나 다가랑기 차고제메가 다가수리스.
So this is the way that sort of the Ayadeva offers the sort of consequence to these other tenet systems about their antidote to attachment. But in the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha is saying to us that all of those practices, such as which these other practice systems engage in, such as not eating for a long time, going to sort of remote areas, kind of in a homeless and having very few sort of possessions. All of these sort of more aesthetic practices do not get down to the root of the root cause of attachment, which is what you need to sort of look into. What is the root cause of attachment? And so the Buddha says to us that though none of those practices, all of those more aesthetic, extreme practices, will not help you in getting rid of your attachment. You have to identify the mistaken mind which lies at the root of your attachment, understanding that that mind which lies underneath the attachment is mistaken, and understanding how that the grasping underlying that is mistaken, and then how we can meditate on the kind of direct counterpoint, the direct opposite to that grasping, which will then help us to remove the root of attachment. So that's how the Buddha is presenting the way we remove attachment.
다 디인도 전에 던질라바나 신가랑 쪽에 레레 사베 갑라 디 군을 lon지기 마리바디 투유 고롱도 주에 마리바텔라 아니고 만다 주여지 친줄로 로제단디 다 원나 친줄로레레 매버스는 대베이나 안데 매버스 투여 거려 맞다 망타네 다 이나양 당동양 삼보지 땅도 전에 딘디 친줄로기 로레레 만다게 디기 자와 친인지 당동양직도 없어 이 가르도스나 다도 접에 당신들이 샤스 당 다도 접에 당신기 자와 텔레 띠지 아니 아란주 마선에 갈소래 따버점에 당신기요 매장월라 장월라 진주야 림바 진의 용어에도 저 창막이 유치인데 다도 접에 당신들이 샤스 당신들다 아주 갑자기 자토베이나 아니 신의 탐제를 갑자기 쳐봐 인상 다디 아란주게 매버 쓰고도 좀 아니 좀 된대기 아니 라바 추중게 라베 제수 아니 라바 딩이 있다 딩이 라바나 셔럽 라바 템버바.
And so in terms of the all of these going through this process of how the process that was described here by the Buddha, and then understanding that these the afflictions, and then the karma is created on the basis of our afflictions, which is driven by the underlying mind of ignorance. But within this there are many sort of the mistaken mind of ignorance. But here, thinking of that ignorance in terms of many different forms. So as we, taking the permanent to be taking the impermanent to be permanent, taking the pure to be impure. So there are many, there are a whole variety of mistaken kinds of mind, ignorant kinds of minds, which cause the afflictions, and therefore for us to create karma. So, but there's a huge variety of, and each of these, and it's not possible to go through each of these mistaken minds, sort of counteracting them and challenging them one by one. But if we then, what the Buddha is saying to us is that underneath all of those kind of ignorant minds, mistaken ignorant minds, is another level, which is the level at which the grasping to the inherent existent self, and all of these other forms of mistaken mind kind of spring out of that. That this is the one that lies at the root of it. So if you can take on, try to counteract and challenge this self-grasping, then all of the other, grasping at an inherently existent self, then all the other forms of mistaken mind will be taken care of. By eliminating this root, you will eliminate all the other forms of because of mistaken mind which lie above it. And therefore, then the Buddha speaks in the context of the 3 higher trainings, then further about the trainings in concentration and the trainings in wisdom.
제상가 공부를 산지 좀 된들이야. 대바제베가라 아니 따와 탐지 방법이 치르스. 따와 탐지 방법을 쓰되 따와레레레레레레레신의 방법 깨지면 비치. 따와 탐지 방법이 치르스되 따와 친지로게 따와 망보주 예배나로네 되게 싸워 그 쪼디 당보 쪼세야 돼. 되게 좀 친지로 뒷방배 다도 좀 당신 뒷방배 차네 안 따와 탐지 방법 샤스. 얘도 좀배 맞으면 전에 지기 듀바 하고 string ruba benna takpa jiyuna didu sin jig not zero tinji tebdewiina ani mekhaba ji yonje di mago chego mar di dine nenga chigmodo medusina duba tamji sik tu ruba o dinna sin cheche ani chinji log yongso zoba ani 다도 좀 당신이 구조 탭에 구조 탭에 텔 때니 아니 따와 탐지 방법이 치르스.
So then in the Nagarjuna, in one of his praises to the Buddha, praises the Buddha as the one who is taught to the profound Dharma for the relinquishing of all views, or the abandoning of all views. And so what he means here is not by the individually sort of relinquishing or eliminating individually each kind of mistaken wrong view. What he's talking about is eliminating the root of all of these, the main mistaken mind that lies at the root of all these, and then abandoning that root ignorance, then all of the other forms of completely mistaken minds will be eliminated. So that's what he's talking about in the praise. So you can think about this into if you had a ball of string that was tied up with many knots. But if somebody, a skilled person, were able to come along and take out the one sort of pull in one particular place, which was then able to release all of those knots, then this would be the same kind of way in which we, by eliminating the grasping to an inherent existent self, then all of these other layers of mistaken mind are removed. So that's what Nagarjuna means when he in that verse where he praises the Buddha.
So Nagarjuna very seeing the kindness of Buddha. So if you haven't taught this kind of teaching, then I might be try to tackle so many times in a wrong way, but then struggling everywhere. But now you give this one teaching that through this teaching I can get the liberation. So through your kindness, you have given me this. So this kind of teaching, through this kindness, I take homage. So this is the, he didn't make this kind of homage at the beginning. He did in the last chapter. That's a very skillful way. Ole. So now, why skillful way? Many of us, what we do is, when you hear, oh, this is a great Rinpoche, great Lama, automatically, through the power of environment force, you just come with lots of respect. And then sometimes you have one good reason, not a good enough reason, but a kind of good reason. Oh, I feel so connected, so special. I feel so. But then, if you couldn't answer this sort of thing, that what Nagarjuna prays to the Buddha, this kind of connection, and then whatever you just try to give a reason, it is not right, accurate, I think. This great teaching, still many people, when we talk about these tags and so much complicated, they say, oh, there's too much information, that we cannot handle it. But actually, without this kind of teaching, we will be more confused. And then, with this confusion, we might never realize we are confused. Like we are having a very nice dream, and we are thinking we are not dreaming. That here is a very powerful teaching that kind of shows, even we are dreaming, we have an opportunity in this dream, we can realize we are sleeping. We need to awake. So this is the way Buddha himself used this antidote and then said, now, this is how you have to find it. And then Buddha himself said, this is it, there's no other way. So in Switzerland, in
Sorens.
Not Sorens,
Martini.
I give this sort of explanation, and people recognize me as one door teaching. So they say, I always say there's one door.
Yes, there's no other door. There's only one door. There's no other way.
So Buddha has given
To peace. Sorry, Shigo.
Yeah, and then the center itself has only one door. So every so like this. So there is no other way. Means now this is it. Otherwise we try to find so many ways, and we get lost somewhere. So this, we put effort, even we come to the near, not to get out from the door, but just pulling the door and seeing, oh, now this is it. That's the greatest thing that we can discover from this teaching.
Just do a little bit and then we'll stop.
다 어디 제장가 디다 줄신디도 다 투루서 다 두지 견제 넘버신 로원 넘수 주버 주루사 다디 디 계산 거부도 줘서 개와도 민기위 미유비 오스 디버도 줘서봐 야나 류기 당하기 이기오 간사 마직비에서 지빌레기 신예진도 두제 넘버 숨 첼라 넘버 두 제비에서 두제 디레 기 민진 대다기니 yu chungwan rowa gyu osa, ta di wo din disha. Duji genchi namba shin rowa namsu jubur gyu ursa. Ta duji genchi sedu zambe, duji gi, ani genchi nes, duji gi genchi ne, legi genchi ne, ani namba sheba lebare, sin suru jyori. 제 장가 넘버 쉐바디 뉴마 체바 먼저도 수요가 해야 돼 가르쳐했으나 레 뉴마 체바 싸기도 왔어.
And so then, so reading a little bit from the text here, where it says, it's the last paragraph of page number 3, the first page, where it says, since the person is obscured by ignorance, they perform the 3 types of karmic formations here, whose characteristic is action, because they form formative actions are called action. These are the causes that keep the migration of beings going. And then there's the next verse: consciousness endowed with formative conditions enters in the migrators. So this is so what this talking about here, the sort of as a condition. As a condition with these sort of these karmic formatives or karmic formations, as a condition, then consciousness. What this second verse is saying is consciousness arises, and we can say that the reason why our consciousness is continued without any any break at all, without any. There's a continuity of consciousness, an unbroken continuity of consciousness, is because of the of karma, because of a continual
넘버 쉐바디 규마 쉐바도 수용거에 돼 가르치는 레스 도저베 레 규메 쉐바지 사디고요. 넘버 쉐바 균치고요.
Because we have an unbroken we've in an unbroken stream of accumulating karma, so that's why our consciousness is an unbroken stream of consciousness.
제장가 더도 되고 숨도 되게 로트라 아니 제장가 다준베기 아니 다 라면인데 원도 지원도 저기 리포준 가르치는 체벌에 시도점베 아니 다 레사야 매버 쇠차오마세 아니 딜이야 쇠딥식인도 차이게 매버 쇠차로 봤어 딜로도와.
And so there are some tenet holder systems who accept what's called the three final vehicles. So the arhats in the sort of the lower vehicles. Why do they say in that system that the at that point when they reach the arhatship and manifest the nirvana without remainder, at that point those arhats, the continuum is the continuum of consciousness is stopped, and that's because there's no the karma is exhausted, and there's no kind of ripening sort of condition of attachment there for the consciousness to continue.
So one time my friend children, when we are discussing about this
so those who accept that the continuum of the kind of continuity of consciousness is cut. So those who don't have those who don't have a sort of lineage or kind of
no more consciousness.
No, yeah, sorry. They accept this sort of that there's ultimately there's an end to the consciousness. The consciousness is cut. Yeah, sorry.
So when we are discussing about that, in Thailand, she know one the great monk who is kind of known as has a title of Arhat. So very well respected. So that master shows her a picture, and that he is making a prostration to the Buddha statue, and then there is a kind of the Buddha from Buddha's maybe hand or from here, one light coming directly to the monk. So that time there is no Photoshop. So then he was quite amazed. He gives the reason. Looks like Buddha is still alive. But he was just making kind of this joke. But then also then in this monk or maybe some other one informed His Holiness the Dalai Lama, saying that he himself has a vision of seeing Buddha and Buddha's disciple in front of him. So, and then he was quite curious about, because Buddha, in his belief system, the continuity of the mind has already stopped, because they don't accept the Buddha is fully enlightened or something. They just see him as a arhat. So you see, this great being, in our way of thinking, there's no more Buddha, but I can still have this kind of a vision. So he was curious about that. His Holiness also said this a few times in the public teaching. 제상을 하면냐데 오늘 제차비 쇼라 단도르부 균 마체바 제제 요래 요 말에서야디 제잔탄다 네 미게 팀면 주주진 비기 졸라이네 티와지 연구 있으라 봐.
So this is a question that arises for those who are sort of followers of the sort of Hinayana Theravadan tradition, where they whether when a person, an arhat, then it becomes an arhat without enters nirvana without remainder, whether there is the continuity of consciousness is at that point cut or not. This is a sort of discussion within these traditions that.
제장가 지단에 아주 단다 딘지 토로 도저 제제 아니디 나로 좀 된디기니 레다 몰람 기왕기 용야 직제마도 그좀 된디 여바다 나 디기 좀 된디기 시규 도수지제 단도 못은 여비기 줍제 말해서들이 다나 제바디
So this discussion is about whether in terms of the historical Buddha and whether because I'm going to the historical Buddha and whether because
the Rinpoche Junchen Rinpoche Junchen 나양 안에 딘지기 단동양 좀 된디 가서래 진급 주야로 소바데조디 아니 좀 된디 고마마 여비 계적게 말했어. 이 용야디 가르기 온기 용고르세도 나로 좀 된디기 두개 모는 오늘 조차 봐.
어제
디 인도 좀비 디기 진럽직 말레베 손럽지레스. 베자나로디 렌 요레스.
So there's an answer to this sort of question about whether whether the Buddha the continuum of consciousness is cut or not, and whether after nirvana, and whether the and there's an answer to this in the text where it talks about how the Buddha before the Buddhas had made with their sort of untainted kind of karma, and also from their prayers, they had made on the basis of that these such as these sort of inspirations or blessings could come. This discussion is actually present in the text.
But His Holiness said that the Buddha in the sutra repeatedly he says for 가서래 깨워 장매비 갑네니 지금 소남다 이시고 초 심진이 돈다를 거래 개변 두 상마지 아니 망보주 송보디 아니다 라면야데 원도 치지 계jem 망보로 소남 망보 사데디 아니디 지기 세 다가랑랑 가데 손으로 제베이나 디 가서 우리보다 맞춤 비게저스.
So, but then Hans has sort of repeatedly said that if the Buddhas over sort of countless lifetimes had been accumulating merit and doing practices for the welfare, to accumulate, the accumulation of merit and the accumulation of wisdom over these countless lifetimes for the welfare of all sentient beings, and then how could it be that that they when they come to the this sort of end of the path here, that over all these eons of doing all these practices, and when it came down to the when they came down to the sort of end of the path here, where they would, if they were to manifest the nirvana without remainder, and then just sort of and that would all sort of stop. How this doesn't seem to be sort of really in accord with reason, of all of this accumulation of merit and wisdom, and then the end of the continuum comes.
I just wanted.
Okay.
Is that on? No, I just wanted to add, in Thailand, also I met Prapayutta, who is considered the most learned of the monks in Thailand, and he explained to me that the tainted continuum of the mind stops with nirvana, with no remainder, but the untainted continuum continues. So similar to the Mahayana explanation.
군주들 사맥이 레다
Sakmegi Sengyun.
They copied from us. Just
It could be. It could be. Modern Theravadins do, accept certain things from the Mahayana. It's true.
아들이샤. 다 First of all, 당 아주 개체셔디 리버디 균 체미치기 리버디 자외기 간주 자외 리버디 균 체미치기 좀 체. 아란 쪽이 다단다 추비로디 아라저 간인지 제공도 참비 리균치기 여러 말 디케지드레스.
So, and perhaps rather than thinking about that broader subject of whether the continuity of consciousness is cut or not cut at the sort of at the end of the paths or whatever, maybe we should think more about the continuity of our mistaken minds and the mistaken consciousnesses, whether that whether that can be cut or not, whether that gets cut or not cut, or can be cut or not cut. Maybe that's a more important question.
This is serious business. 어디체 나한테는 I think we'll stop here today, and then you can do the dedication and the mandala, everything after the today's session. So how long you want to do the session, this is all up to you. And now today I take a relax, and then if miracle happen, feeling stronger, then I will come down and continue. Surprise.
Yep.
Okay. So Alex will lead the discussion, and then you have 3 o'clock. So
3 o'clock.
Okay. So thank you, and sorry for the contaminated
Tainted
aggregates. It is a good teaching tool. Thank you. Namda Shina Jeba Shu Yidama Guru Ratnamindra Chanju Simjo Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Jeba Nyam Kone Kondo Pewa Shu